Improvising a solo doesn't have to be mind-numbing or fear-inducing. Let me say that again. Improvising a solo does not have to be mind-numbing or fear-inducing. Hi, I'm jazz pianist and educator Bradley Sowash, and in this session, we will explore easier to intermediate go-to strategies for not balking when asked to take a solo. Let's have a little music first. So, hello everybody. Welcome, Paulette. And if there's any problems with the sound or anything like that, just give me a heads up because sometimes that happens. So I'm glad you're here. And again, today we're talking about what to do when you're asked to take a solo and perhaps you're pretty green at that. I see some folks filing in. I know it's right on the hour, so I think I'll play just a little bit because I got some really valuable information that I want you to be able to hear when you're with me here live. So give me just another round on that and see if you can tell me in the chat if you recognize this song. I'll add some foot percussion. What I'm doing right now is sharing some strategies we're going to go over. Big ending. Well, you got it, this old man. And I am getting to be an old man with a gray beard here, teaching you a little bit about jazz. I love this tune because it's a simple 3-chord tune that you can do so many things to. I look for those tunes that most everyone recognizes, that are public domain, that people can put together with just a couple of chords with the all-important 1, 4, and 5 chords. So yeah, well, lots of people's dropping in. It touches me very much. You want to spend some time with me live. I see Joan and Paulette was here first, I believe. Sharon, Tanya, Charisse, a current student, Diana, and just thank you for spending some time with me. Let's get to the stuff you came for. We're going to cover this in 3 parts. We're going to talk about Roman numeral 1, the challenge. Roman numeral 2 is my list of go-to strategies, the real meat of this session. And number 3 is what I call mind tricks, things to tell ourselves when we're improvising. So the challenge is this. I'm just reading here because I have a quote. Recently, I received this request from a bass player who is interested in improving his soloing. Many of you who know me know that I really enjoy playing a lot of instruments, not equally well, but I just love moving from instrument to instrument and seeing what it can do. And he became aware of my bass playing, and he wrote me this request. Quote, I see that your online classes focus on piano improvisation among many other topics. Do you solo on bass? I may be interested in lessons in this regard. If you are game, I'm a solid rhythm player, but my mind goes blank when they say, take it. Does this sound like you? You know, it's one thing to know a little bit about improvisation, a little bit about theory and all, and it's another thing to be able to just pull it out of the hat and do it on the fly. And so that's the challenge we're meeting today. And I just demonstrated some of the strategies that I would use to solo on a tune that we'll go through right now. So already we're to part 2, which is my list of go-to strategies to improvise. And what I mean by go-to strategies, I'm not looking for some esoteric new, sweet trick that is some cool bebop, thing or something borrowed from the deep pages of the last chapter of the theory book or some cool thing. Even though those are all nerdy concepts I'd love to study, I'm looking for right here, survival. How are we going to get through this solo? And so here's my list of strategies. And I put them in order of how much thinking is involved. And so you're asked to solo, you're in the middle of a tune. Maybe you're with a big band, maybe with a rock band, maybe it's folk music, maybe you're not on piano. It doesn't matter. These strategies are universal for genre, instruments, and everything else. So number 1, here it is. How do we improvise? Embellish the melody. Just decorate up the melody. And that's what I demonstrated a few minutes ago. So if we take a look at this melody in a sort of a real straight way. So I'm going to let the style permeate my feeling of how I want to embellish that. I'm going to let the rhythm sort of, I want to say the word, infect my mood. And let's see if, how that comes out. Keeping in mind that melody, and I'm playing in the key of G. We may as well show you the chords here. So here's this old man. I wrote them down for you. It's 1, 4, and 5 chords, 2 measures of G, C and D or D7, and then G for 2 measures, A minor 7, which if you permit me a little jazz chord because I'm swinging here, and then D7, G. Really simple, right? And your ear will take you right to those chords. So if we're going to embellish that, I'm going to let the melody, the groove inspire me. So a little delay there. Some repeated notes. Now I'm very familiar with the swing feel, so that sounds convincing. But I don't know. Maybe we would do it in a Alberti-based, classical environment. With lots of little Mozartian embellishments. Or maybe we do it in, let's try a funk feel. So I'm using some fill notes and passing tones that I talked about last month. And just, it's reassuring to realize that the melody itself can carry you through. Okay. So you can just work with that a little bit. Let's see. I want to say, we used to call it knick-knack paddywhack, says Paulette, when I was a kid. Yeah. I actually heard that this surprised me when I put that tune in my Creative Chords book, which I'm going to show you later, but I'll show you now. I believe it's in this one, in book 2, the beginning keyboard improvisation series. My editor did some research and suggested that might be a reference to Irish people, and that those original lyrics could perhaps be regarded as a kind of slam against a group of people. So we changed the lyrics, and I was happy to do that because I love writing new lyrics. So it's interesting how those little cultural biases are buried right in our basic, nursery rhymes. Anyway, so we got embellishing melody. That's number 1. I hope you're writing these down. And I hope you're trying them out. So one thing about the melody is you need to know the melody. A lot of times, if you're playing piano in a worship band or a big band or a small combo or playing any instrument, this is supposed to be multi-instruments. And someone's singing the melody and you don't know the melody. Well, there's a lesson right there. You need to know the melody. Knowing the melody will help you phrase, will help you improvise, will help you know what notes work. Learn the melody, even if it's not in your part. So that's a big tip. Write that one down. All right, the second thing I would do, and let's say I'm playing bass, and I'm, bass is a secondary instrument for me, and someone says take it, and I'm not highly, trained on the upper part of the neck there, where it gets kind of complicated. Or mandolin's another instrument I play, and maybe I'm doing it tonight, going to my open session where we get together and outside and play Irish and old-timey tunes. And maybe it's my turn to solo. What am I going to do? Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fall back on that pentatonic scale, and I call that blanketing. That means you just smear all over the chords the notes in a pentatonic scale. In this case, it would be G, A, B, D, E. You can learn about the theory about that later. But the beauty of that scale is you don't have to worry about what chords underneath it. If you're freaking out and you can't think because you're actually solo and your brain goes numb, you can just rely on those 5 notes, G, A, B, D, E, even when the chord changes. So let me see if I can. I'll go back to a swing feel and just play G, A, B, D, E in various orders, but I won't change anything when the chord comes by. So here's your G chord. 1, 2, 3, and C chord. Same notes, right hand. I played 100% G, A, B, D, E. They have a marvelous quality of fitting over the chords in most tunes as long as they stay around a particular key center and not, move around a lot like you might find in some jazz standards. So, the second one was blanket it. Blanket means just throw those notes on it with a pentatonic scale. The next one, if I were going to try to survive, and I'm thinking, what do I play? And this requires a little more thinking. I said I would order these in order of thinking. So the first two, embellish the melody, just do what you want. The second one, blanket it with pentatonic. Not too much thinking there. This one requires that you do know the chords. So I'm going to just stick to chord tones. And on the piano, that sounds pretty okay. But on other instruments, it can be kind of actually a little cooler because we're not used to hearing chord tones or broken chords played in random orders so much on other instruments, or at least as pianists, maybe we don't think about them as chords. So maybe you're playing fiddle or something like that, or just isolate those chord tones. So again, I have 2 measures of G, a measure of C, and a measure of D7. So sticking just to the notes in those chords, G, B, D for the G chord, C, E, G, though in any order for the C chord, and D, F sharp, A, C for the D7. We can see we can make some music with that. Just chord tones. And I'm, maybe it's the secondary instrument. I can't even think of all those notes. Oh, I'm on the mandolin. Where's the, I only know 1 octave of the G chord. So fine, I'll use that, 2, 3, M. C chord, B, G, C, F sharp for the D chord. 100% chord tones. Notice that they are not arpeggios. So pianists in particular, we spend years doing that kind of stuff, practicing those arpeggios. Is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about just isolating those notes. I'm just having fun. I'm just messing around with chord tones here. So that's your third strategy. And then I'll give you one more here, and then we'll take a break and take a look at who's in the group with us today. And that would be to add some passing notes between those chord tones. So if we have G, B, D on this old man, then I like to add the second. So the root is G, and the second would be the A note, and then B is the third and D is the fifth. So we have that little A, and that can just be an on the way note. I'm still thinking very much about a G chord, G, B, D, but I might have an on the way note. So G, B, D, but just on the way, because in the piano particularly, it just lies right there in the first finger. We can do the same thing on the C chord. Let's add a D to that. It's second. So I just have a little more variety. I'm very aware of the chord, and I'm throwing in a passing note. It doesn't have to be the second. I just chose that for this example. You might use the sixth or the fourth between the third and fifth. So on a G chord, I might throw in a C. There's the C. So it starts to morph almost into a scale, but we're thinking about chords. So far we've hit embellish the melody, blanket the melody with a pentatonic scale, play broken chords, but with interesting rhythms and mixing and matching them. And then we added some notes in between the chord tones. Let's just take a minute here and let me check in with my friends here. I got to see which way this goes. Yes, happy Thursday. Thank you for that. This old man, it's a good time to give me some razzing here if you want. The oh so useful pentatonic scale says Diana. Yes, it is. It is your friend. So all right, let's plow along here now to bring it a little bit more sophistication. And you can do this in bluegrass or swing for sure, any kind of popular style, American acoustic stuff, Americana, singer-songwriter, basically popular styles, not so much formal styles. We can throw in those blue notes. And so the blue notes are the flat third and the flat seven. So in this key, that's a B flat and an F. And those are those notes that when you're playing along, people say, oh, that was cool. What is that? Or I really like that note. That was neat. And it's sometimes interesting how we as players can discount the value of one little interesting note choice. So maybe you know all about adding a 7 onto a G chord. So it'd now be a G7, G, B, D, F. It seems simple. It seems not sophisticated. It seems like whatever. But it has a lot of weight. Those blue notes bring a lot of color to your playing, and they may be easy to play once you identify them, but they are really fun for the ear. So if we just add a F to the G chord and maybe a flat third, such as a B flat, not such as a B flat, and then resolve that to the third. So I have G, B flat, B. There's my F, G, B, D, F. Let's do that on the C chord, in which you would have an E flat being the blue note, resolving to an E natural, and we'll put a B flat for the 7. And now we mix that in with the passing notes, and we have a very chord-based thinking, but we're using passing notes and blue notes to really color it up. I learned this one this week on mandolin. It's just a simple idea, but it sounds like this. That was cool. And that works, even in a bluegrass or, like I said, folk style. It doesn't have to be a jazz style or a blues style to use those notes. It just may be a matter of how often you lay into them. Those notes, I'm not talking about a specific scale. I'm just talking about flat third, flat 7, toss them into the salad, and you have a little more interest. Notice we're getting a little bit more sophisticated. You can rely on just the first one, embellish the melody under pressure. But here's some more, tools to have in your bag. So the next one I would say is leading tones. Now this is a little bit more sophisticated, but there's a great comment by Miles Davis where he says, think of a note and then play something else. He's kind of a Yoda of jazz philosophy in many of his comments. So I'll think of G, but I'll play an F sharp and then let it resolve. F sharp G. Now let's do that on the C chord. Instead of C, I'll start on B, a half step below it. And now on the D chord, I'll play a C sharp, a half step below the root. So you can grab a half step below any chord tone. I like to grab the one right below the root because it kind of sounds wrong at first. So if you're just joining us, I'm jazz educator Bradley Sowash, and many of the strategies that we're talking about today are in my books, which I showed earlier. They're laid out in detail for teachers with little or no experience, and also people that self-instruct. And so there's two of them, Creative Chords is for beginners, and Beginning Keyboard Method, where you learn to play both reading music and making your own choices in terms of note choices and accompaniment. And then the 9-book series that is That's Jazz. This is kind of my main deal here. It's 9 books, 3 minutes 3 performance books and 3 Christmas books, all of which have details beyond just having tunes about how to personalize and improvise the music that you play. By the way, those are on sale in bundles for the fall at my website right now. If you buy the whole bundle or a couple of bundles for your students, they're on sale. So they're also published by Chose Music, KJOS, and you can find them at sheet music retailers everywhere. So here's a couple of more strategies for you. Here's one. Just have some starter licks. Have some lick. I just want to read this. Yes, thank you for that, Joan. She's just giving me an endorsement. Yes, thank you for that. I appreciate that you it is okay. I'll say it. My publisher says it's the best-selling jazz piano method in the world. So, and a lot of the ideas in there are not jazz piano; they're just jazz ideas, like we're talking about today. So, moving again through the bulk of this, the meat of it, the strategies. The next one we're going to look at is starter licks. So, I recently played a concert right outside there in our front yard. We had, maybe some of you who get my newsletter saw it. We had an outdoor concert here at the farm, and I had to play a bass solo on Angel from Montgomery, and it was a pretty long solo, and I was going to be featured for a while. So I went ahead and figured out a couple of licks that I know I could fall back on that would get me through if I couldn't think of anything on the spot. And when I am on the spot, I tend to be like anybody else, all full of, that adrenaline, and your ears are hot and you're looking at people and you're kind of nervous. And they might come out and they might not. In fact, what I played was only similar to what I had planned. But the point is, it's okay to have some starter licks or fallback licks. So here's one. If I were playing This Old Man, I like to play this on piano. I'm going to play B flat B with my thumb, and then D, E, fingers 2 and 3, and then G in my pinky. This is also a very comfortable lick to play on mandolin or fiddle, by the way, or guitar. It fits string instruments very nicely. And so let's do that same shape on a C chord. So I just think, what do I play? Well, I'll start on that. It gives you a little comfortable, familiar friend, and then maybe it will stimulate your thinking into your ear gets going and takes over. So I'm not going to name names here, but I know from some people that are visiting here that they balk at solos in my online jazz piano classes sometimes. This is what you want to do. Just trust these devices. So I've got 3 more for you. This one is just more of a general comment, which is play cool rhythms. Play cool rhythms. It's way more important than note choices. Trust me on this. Just tell yourself, when you're in the heat of the moment, Bradley says that interesting rhythms are important. It must be true. Just trust me. Play cool rhythms, and it will, and you can get away with all kinds of stuff. Not even get away with it. It'll just make things live. So when I'm explaining these note choices here, and maybe perhaps you try them and they're a little, what would be the word? They lack vitality. Like, why doesn't my solo sound, like Bradley's? Well, the only difference is rhythm. And I can do a whole session just on that. But, the more you play a style, the more those rhythms come to mind. I'll just give one little killer tip here. When I can't think of a rhythm, I think of words. I'm not sure what to play. How about summertime? No, that's not public domain. How about summertime? Okay, so you sometimes can just use language. There's, you have rhythm in you. If you have to do it cerebrally, tell yourself to play a variety of note durations, not just quarters or eighths. Okay, 2 more. Repetition is your friend. Play an idea and play it again. A lot of us freak out when we're soloing because we think, I have to be constantly new, constantly interesting, constantly genius. Just do it again. And then maybe change up the rhythm on the 3rd time, and then maybe try it in another place. So let's just say our rhythm is, I don't know, let's play a little 3-note idea. How about G, E, and D? Okay. Do it again. Let's change the rhythm. Now we're doing it in a new place. That was a nice little solo, right? Exact repeat. Change up the rhythm. New place. And now my ear has taken over. It's not a formula to play it exact and then change it up and then do it in a new place. That's just possibilities of things you can do with a simple idea. You don't have to be flashy. You don't have to be amazing. You just have to do something. And so repetition will make that work. Just trust me. Cool rhythms and repetition will solve almost everything. My last strategy before we wrap up here with some mind tricks is to use, well, let's call it making lemonade out of a lemon. There's an old jazz comment which says when you play something like a wrong note, do it again, and then even again. So this is a mix of repetition and note choices. And if you do it a couple of times, it morphs in the listener's ear from a wrong note to an interesting note. And your job as the soloist is to make affirming expressions like, yeah, I meant that, or smile, or you don't want to wince. We're so trained as trained musicians to be horrified by our wrong notes. Instead, you embrace them. So what would be a wrong note for a G chord? Okay, let's see. Looks like I froze just for a second, but I think I'm back. So yeah, I have rural internet here, and we had a massive storm last night, so I'm not surprised if it's a little bit off. So let's play some wrong notes and make them work. We're going to make lemonade out of a lemon. Good, I'm glad it's back, says somebody. So I'm going to play a C sharp against a D chord, or you can suggest something else if you want. So that would be, in a way, a wrong note. What? So that C sharp was pretty wild, but we accepted it because I made it the heart of my solo. Maybe I make it even crunchier. I'll play a C and C sharp. So it becomes a thing rather than a wrong note. And I could show you lots of other examples. I was thinking about toying with an A flat. Well, we'll just do it. A flat against the G chord. You can make it work. Just smile, be affirming, and trust your considerable musical instincts. Okay, I appreciate your comments there. I'm getting a kick out of that. So anyway, if you're just joining us, I'm going to wrap this up in a minute. I'm going to a little bit over my target time of a half hour, but I'm jazz pianist and educator Bradley Sowash. Today we're talking about how not to balk when playing a solo. And so far we have talked about the challenges of that, and we had a whole list of strategies: embellish the melody, blanket with pentatonic, play chord tones, passing notes between chord tones, adding blue notes, leading tones into broken chords, starter licks, cool rhythms. Repetition is your friend, and make lemonade out of lemons. That is too long of a list. So you're going to just choose one or two of those to sit on when the next time you're asked to play a solo, or when you're playing a solo with your own music or a backing track. So that's a big list because I want to make sure there's something new or remindful, if that's a word for everybody. So let's wrap this up with one more bit here. I want to check with the group though, because I see your oh yeah, I love your shirt, she says. It's not a wrong note, it's jazz. That was my last point. I wanted to bring that up. Yeah, you can make it work, and here's a tip: the cooler the chords, the richer the chords, the more you can get away with almost any note. That's one of the reasons that jazz chords have a lot of notes in them, because the more notes that are in the chord, the more notes are available that are chord tones. Or another way to say it is the less notes are going to be played that don't match the chord. So Yeah, I see people are enjoying it. Thanks. Good. All right. So let me see. Mary has an idea here. It's yeah. She quotes me in piano lessons. I'm glad. I hope I can haunt you. This is what I do for a living, but it's more important than that. I want to have an impact, and I think I am. So let's wrap this up with a couple of mind tricks. These are just general things to keep in mind when you're getting ready to be in a situation where you're going to solo. You could call them Jedi mind tricks if you want. Just 3 things to keep in mind. Actually, I wanted to just make quick thing. I have a note here to invite you to my fall jazz piano classes. I do live online jazz piano classes that are not unlike this one, except we're all here together and trying things out. And the new one's going to be called Standards and Styles, where we're going to look at classic jazz standards and different styles associated with them, about how to play them. What's unusual about this class is it's going to be 2 hours, starting on the easier end, not unlike the strategy list, and ending with more challenging ideas. So everybody is invited to drop in where they feel most comfortable. So if you're a big flat out newbie to playing improvised jazz, you might make sure you come in the beginning and maybe go to the end sometimes anyway, to see what is around the corner for you. And if you are an advanced player, as many of my students have been with me for 6 or 7 years have become, even though they don't trust themselves fully yet, you might come early just to see how the pedagogy works if you're a teacher, or to remind yourself and review. So that starts in the fall. It's called Standards and Styles, and you'll find all about that at bradleysowash.com. Let's wrap up with mind tricks. The first one to keep in mind is that solos are short. Solos are short. Anyone can. These are things I actually want you to tell yourself. Tell yourself this. So let's see. This old man is 8 measures long. If that were played twice, let's say that was the length of your solo, that's 16 measures. If you're playing Summertime or Autumn Leaves or something like that, or a blues, there may be 16 or 12 measures, or there might be 32 measures. And so what I tell myself, what I did when I was new to this, is that, quote, anyone can survive 16 measures, or fill in the blank. Anyone can survive this much length. Anyone can survive it. You don't worry about being amazing. So solos are short. That's your mindset. Just play something and try not to overthink it, right? Because a lot of us overthink things. Trust your well-honed music instincts. I'm reading my notes here. Now, I admit that sometimes I'm just sliding around, especially like on bass, and with no frets. That thing back there, that beast back there. I'm just sliding around looking for notes that sound good. Sometimes it's just what happens. And I don't even have a discernible music theory concept going on. I'm just playing something. You can do that and survive if you're into it and convey the emotion and do your best. It will carry to your audience. So I had a jazz education colleague who said one time to a student who was asking a million questions, quote, "If you're thinking, you're stinking." And that is definitely overstated, but it is a factor for some who just kind of over worry or overthink things. So, get in there, say, again, I can survive, anyone can survive 16 measures, and just tell yourself that. Solos are short. The second of 3 mindsets to carry to your soloing is fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it. And here's what you tell yourself. I don't have to be a music theory genius to sound good or choose my own notes. I don't have to be a music theory genius to choose my own notes. So a lot of this is just doing it. It doesn't require all kinds of music theory, but it does require just a little bit of courage to go ahead and jump in the pool. Once you open the door, or once you've dived in, let's keep that metaphor going, the water doesn't feel cold anymore and you're having a good time. So just do it. As an example, you see my electric guitar back here. I've been working on blues guitar, lead guitar, which is the first. I'm 62. I'm just starting to have a lot of fun playing lead guitar. I got the cool distorted sounds and all that. And the reason I'm excited about it is that I found, with a little bit of diving in and actually stopped being worried about how I might sound, I had some successes. I sounded okay for a newbie to the lead guitar. And that fueled me to keep going. And it's already becoming more comfortable, not in one session, but over doing it several nights and having fun with it. So the first one of the mind trick was remind yourself that solos are short, that anyone can survive however many measures. The second one is fake it till you make it. and just do it. I guess it's the Nike thing. And then the most comforting thought, and I want you to tell yourself this. I'm just looking at my notes here. Most listeners can't tell the difference between a good solo and an okay solo as long as it's played with feeling. Remind yourself that you are way more sophisticated than 90% of the, or 98% of the listeners in the room. And you have musician's ears. You're critically thinking about the time and what line dissonances and do they line up? Are your music, is it rhythmically interesting? Is it all this stuff? They aren't listening to that, right? They're hoping to feel something. And so you can be enthusiastic about your playing, even if it's not what you would consider great playing, or even if it's not coming out like you intended. So help them feel something and turn your jitters. I had some jitters this morning. I came in here for this session and my piano wasn't working right because we had a lightning storm last night. I had all this stuff, had all this nervous energy. And one of the reasons I smile a lot in my sessions and all that is that I turn that energy into enthusiasm. So channel that energy into enthusiasm and nervousness becomes excitement. And then watch the compliments roll in. When you play with feeling, it works. Okay, so I played a whole lot of weird notes there on purpose, but I was into it. I was feeling it, and it wasn't fake. And so that makes people go, whoa, what kind of a journey am I going on? So again, those mind tricks solos are short. Tell yourself I can survive 16 measures. Fake it till you make it, which is remind yourself you don't have to be a music theory genius to do this. And then that very comforting thought that most listeners can't really tell the difference, and tell yourself that between great playing and okay playing. So I'm going to just take a look at my last comments here. And I say that Diana says, I say you can get away with anything if you act like you know what you are doing. I agree. I would take that even a step further and say, don't act. Get into what you're doing. Who knows? You might be making music history with cool new notes. So lastly, I'm going to wrap this up. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're watching this. Like, follow, do all that stuff. And the reason for that is I'm not trying to be a famous YouTuber or blogger or whatever, but I would like you to know about future learning opportunities, both paid and free like this one. And the only way I can reach you is if you let me know you're out there. So subscribe or do whatever you're used to doing with staying in connection. And I'm just going to have a little fun on this tune one more time. You're welcome to stick around, or if you need to get out of here, you can. I think I'll play the melody, I'll embellish the melody, and then I'll try some of these strategies. 2, 3, 4. I forgot to talk about minimalism. There was that starter lick. Leading tones. Repetition. Same lick. Changing the rhythms. Lemonade. Sevenths and blue notes. Now I'm just gonna not think. singing going, but I won't sing. It's internal. Big ending. This old man never had it so good. Until next time, you enjoy your creative music making journey. Go do it. Go do it right now. And thanks for coming. See you soon.